Once in a while I impress myself, and this is one of those times. So this is the newest version of the A-scale replica chassis I build on my full-size monster truck. I use the same fixture table that I used to build the other ones, but there are some big differences in this chassis compared to the other ones. So this is version 3, and so far I think it's by far the best. So let's take a closer look at it. So the main difference between this chassis and the other ones I built is the material I used for this one. I think this is by far the best. It's a good balance of strength and weight. So the first one I started making out of solid rod, which I could tell was going to be really heavy. I never even finished that one just because it was too heavy and it wasn't a high grade steel, and I could tell it wasn't that strong. So I scrapped that idea. Then I built a chromoly tube one, which I finished. That one was really light, but I could tell it wasn't going to be that strong. And then I started making an aluminum one, which is this one right here. Also never finished because while it looks impressive and it's very lightweight, I worried that it wouldn't be strong enough. Definitely be cool to just bomb around, but I want to make an ultimate basher that's going to be virtually indestructible. So I decided not to go with the aluminum. I'll probably finish it and then do a few test runs to see how it goes. So as far as material goes, this is where it gets interesting. So this is made out of 4130 chromoly, just like the other chromoly one I made, but the other one was all made out of tubing. It was a 1/4 inch outside diameter 058 wall tubing, and I went with 1/4 inch because this is an A-scale version of my full-size truck, and the full-size uses 2-inch outside diameter tubing. So I had to keep this thing 1/4 inch outside diameter, but the heaviest wall thickness I could find was 058 wall. And the problem with that is whenever it would take a hit, like right here, it was prone to bending. It wasn't that strong. I never got that one running, but I could tell just by working with it that if I hit that thing here or there and like a jump or something, it was going to get some damage. It was going to bend or dent or something like that. So my choice was to make it, I could make it out of solid rod. That'd be wicked strong, but then it's going to be crazy heavy, and I didn't want that either. So I figured I'd meet somewhere in the middle, and what I did with this one was all these pieces like here, here, here. Anything that could take a hit is solid rod. But then all the pieces like the bars on the inside, or like these vertical bars right here, something that was not going to take an impact, that's made out of the 058 wall tubing. So it's a good mix of really high strength and lightweight. So making some of it out of solid rod did add a little bit of weight, but it's also insanely stronger. So I think that's the way to go. It's really pretty light. I mean, it's not even that heavy. I haven't put it on a scale yet just because it's not finished, but if you take a look at those electronics, I borrowed those from the 5th scale Clodbuster, and those came out of the Low C DBXLE. The original version of this chassis used the Low C Super Rock Ray motor and transmission, but not only is the motor smaller and less powerful, but the transmission also has more parts to it, and they're smaller parts, so more smaller parts equals less reliability, so that's why I decided to go with DBXLE drivetrain. I'm also using the axle housings from the 5th scale Clod. So I pulled these out. I just cut the tabs off just to weld new ones on because the link location changed. I'm also working on a redesigned axle housing, which is going to be much lighter, much stronger, because when I built this one, I kind of way overbuilt it. I also didn't have all the really nice shop equipment that I have now, so now I can make even better ones, so that's what I plan to do. As far as the 5th scale Clodbuster, so I kind of felt bad taking apart the 5th scale Clodbuster because I did put a lot of work into it, and the chassis does look cool. It's stainless steel, but I learned a lot building this one, and I just took it out for a ride a little while ago, and it ran okay, but there's some changes I wanted to make. And I feel like it's not really a 5th scale, so I called it a 5th scale because when I built this thing, I took apart a DBXLE and used parts from a Low C MTXL, which are called 5th scales, but if you put this thing next to the A-scale chassis, take a look. They're pretty much the same size. The 5th scale Clodbuster's maybe like a 1/2 inch longer. But a lot of that's due to the kind of weird proportions. I made the front of it a little bit longer so I could put a battery in the front and a battery in the back. Whereas on the A scale, 2 4S batteries fit nicely right here in the back. Check this out. This is awesome. You got one. 2 too. And then I just put a Velcro strap around there, and it's got these tabs in here so there's no bolt-in battery tray. So the battery's sitting right there like that. Go in and out pretty easily. And these are just hard case 8000 mAh batteries. I also made a lot of other improvements with this truck. So if you take a look at the suspension links, these right here, those are 7075 aluminum with 1032 forged chromoly rod ends. Whereas with the fifth scale cloud, I made the links out of steel with 1/4 inch rod ends, which are still good, but they're not as high quality as the QA1s. So those are a lot heavier and they're not as strong, so that's one improvement. So having both batteries in the back has a couple advantages. One, put all the weight in the back instead of the Cloudbuster had a weird weight distribution. It had one battery in the front, one in the rear. So it handled funny landing on a jump. It almost wanted to like flip forward. So having the weight in the back definitely helps, but also getting rid of the 2 battery trays, you got the weight of the 2 trays plus the hardware, so I saved a little bit there. So if you look at where the speed control's mounted in there, as opposed to the fifth scale cloud, it had it up high right here on an aluminum plate, whereas this one's down low on a Lexan plate, so the Lexan's lighter than the aluminum. I also zip tied it to the chassis instead of using screws, so less hardware, less weight, also quicker to take apart. And with the fifth scale Cloudbuster, the ESC bolted to this piece. This came out of DBXLE, and then that bolted to the aluminum plate, so I got rid of that, which is more hardware, more pieces. It may not seem like much, but if you put all those pieces and all the hardware in a bag and weighed it, it would add up to a significant amount, especially when you have a metal chassis, metal links and everything. I want to keep this thing as light as possible, but still be crazy strong. And another improvement, let me get this out of the way. Put this one back up on the bench. This thing is awesome. It did have really good suspension geometry. That handled well, but like I said before, when it would land on a jump, it would come down like this, and it'd want to flip forward, and that's because like the shock angle and stuff like that wasn't correct. So one thing I did on this truck that I was never really happy with, as I came close to the end of the build, I kind of rushed things. Like when it came time to mounting the motor and transmission, it went down here, but what I did was I just made some plates out of some steel I had laying around the shop just because I had it on hand and I was impatient. So that's really heavy. There were 2 of those. So these bolted to the motor and transmission, and then there's these 2 mounting holes bolted to this piece, which this bolted down here like that, so that held the links. Then these adapter plates went in there, and then the motor went to that. So not only did I have this piece, then these plates, and then the transmission. There's also a lot of bolts that went with that, so that was a lot of weight. So if you look at these side plates right here that the motor and transmission bolt to, I made those out of 7075 aluminum, and I drew them up in Fusion 360 and made them really nice, so everything fits nicely. If you take a look, these plates bolt to the transmission, and then these 4 bolts, which are the suspension links, bolt to the plates. And then I machine the inside, so everything's double shear. It's a nut and a bolt on the bottom, and then the upper bolt, this plate is tapped. It's drilled and tapped, so it's got the adjustment holes, so it's really easy to make adjustments. So what that means is the motor and transmission is held in with 4 screws per side, so a total of 8. So again, less hardware, less weight, and also easier to work on. So right here you can get a better look at the plate. You can see I notched it in here to clear the gear. Everything fits very precise. And right here it's through bolted. You have a bolt and a nut, but up here you can see there's no nut. It's just threaded right in the aluminum. I drilled it and tapped it, made the 2 adjustment holes. These screws are a little long. I'll be putting shorter ones, and I just bolted everything together for a mock-up for now, but once it's all done, I'll use all the proper length hardware. And as far as the body, it just so happens that an Armo Mojave body fits perfectly on this thing. Look at that. You couldn't ask for a better fit. And I didn't build this chassis to this body at all. It's just coincidence. When I bought this body, I thought maybe I'd have to trim it or something, but it fits absolutely perfect. Like if you take a look, there's these little round things in the body shell. It centers perfectly over the corners of the cage, and then in the back, the cage stops right at this little cross pattern. It's absolutely perfect. Couldn't ask for a better fit. And what's cool is it's a trophy truck, so I could paint this thing up and make it look just like aggravated assault. That would be awesome. I think I'm going to do that. So now I just have to weld a couple tabs on the axles, and I'll have this truck running next weekend, next video, so stay tuned for that. So take care. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you next time. Hit the bell. Bye.